white tea and comparing temperatures for white tea. It's a topic today. It's so nice to do 2 days of experiments in a row. Remember we did 40? Yeah, I miss those days, man. Today we're doing another experiment after we did one yesterday. Also with a white tea, we're going to be comparing the effects of temperature on how a white tea brews up in the cup. And for those of you who have followed us for a little bit, you'll know that, we are big proponents of boiling the heck out of any white tea. Especially a good one, like boiling a really, really good white tea. But my friend Lion pointed out to me during the One Tea Focus Challenge that, it's true that some people just might prefer the flavor profile of something that's brewed at a lower temperature. So there's 2 things going on here. Number one, I do believe that a good white tea can take boiling water. So this is like an evaluation, like, hey, are you good or not? Boiling water. You can tell if objectively a tea is good or not using boiling water. But number 2, do you like it better with the boiling water or not? So we'll test these things out today. It's a matter of both evaluation. It's a tool for evaluation, but also, do we necessarily want to boil our white tea for our personal enjoyment? Just because a white tea can take it doesn't mean we should, right? So thanks, Lion, for the, reminder to test these out sometimes. We've done so many temperature side-by-sides over the years, but it's always good to kind of review, just in case your palate changes, your experience changes, your tea changes, your water changes, everything changes, so you might as well just review it. Yeah. Get it nice and solid, And we're going to be using our handy-dandy bowls to do this side-by-side, just so we get a nice, even comparison between the two. We will compare, we'll do like near boiling water here on the left, and then we'll do a little bit lower temperature water, maybe around 185 degrees here on the right. So I invited you guys to try to do this experiment with us if you would like to. You can do any experiment with us whatsoever, but this time I actually planned it out more than 2 hours in advance, so I was able to ask you guys. So that's the magic of planning, right, Ree? Let's say our hellos to our beautiful tea friends. I mean it, you guys are so beautiful. Wow, tea people are so great. Cha Chai Tea is here, Delphine, Asulaidi. Nice to see you guys. Joe. If Instagram will let me scroll down. Terry Teapot. Marco, who I haven't seen in a long time. Leo from Tea and Whisk. Welcome to today's tea practice. We'll call it side-by-siding white tea with 2 different temperatures. Boiling here, and then 185 degrees Fahrenheit, maybe 85 degrees Celsius over here. I don't have a thermometer to be able to tell, but I think what I can do is just boil the water to 85 degrees Celsius and then pour in and then let it just boil those few seconds after. Yeah, I think it'll be fine. Yeah, sounds good? Yeah, I think that'll be fine. So right now I'm just preheating my teaware. If you're doing this experiment, try to preheat both your pieces of teaware. If you don't have identical teaware pieces, that's okay. Just know that you have to factor in what the effect is of your teaware on the result. And if not, just go to IKEA, get a couple of bowls with soup spoons, they're so cheap and so easy to maintain for doing these kinds of side-by-sides, so I highly recommend them. Then we'll weigh these out. We are going to be using the same tea as we did yesterday, sugar white, just because we like this tea a lot. Thanks for sending us this tea, Joe. This is again a Taiwanese Dongding white tea. Very, very unusual white tea. Taiwan doesn't really have a lot of white teas, but I figure we kind of dug into it yesterday. We can dig into it again today. The more that you practice with a single tea, the more you'll get to know it. So after it being so fresh yesterday, like we studied it a lot yesterday, today we'll be like, hey, that's different from yesterday. What came out? What didn't come out? And yesterday we did use boiling water to brew it. So now what we're trying to figure out is how it tastes with a lower temperature today. Yeah, sounds good? Yeah, let's weigh these babies out. Anyone else doing the experiment with us, or it's just me? That's fine. Dance monkey dance is fine by me too. Just pay attention a little bit, so I don't mind doing the experiment for you, but definitely if you're not doing it with us right now, please consider, doing it for yourself in the future, because it's much more fun when you can actually taste the tea, get your own feedback, your own experience, and also, like, what if you disagree with me? That's really important too. Like, just because I find out something in my experiments doesn't mean everyone will have the same conclusion. The more that we trade notes and compare data, the better for all of us. Yeah. Yeah. So I see Michael and Rosanna from Stars Lined Up. Nice to see you guys. Jean and Jane, Hasabe, welcome to today's tea practice. In just a bit, after I weigh out 1 gram each of the sugar whites, I will be hitting them with some hot water. Yeah. All right. Will the ray gun work for... I still don't know if that's going to work or not. Because I can measure the temperature of the water maybe, but these heat guns, which we got for testing retention of heat from teaware, they don't work as well through translucent material, so I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. Yeah. So again, boiling water on the left, and then 85 degrees Celsius, around 185 degrees Fahrenheit on the right. Celsius gang! Cool. So 1 gram each of the sugar whites. I'm not sure if you guys see this tea here. There we go. And yeah, I will be boiling this with hot water. Number one big thing that people tend to read a lot about, and very, very early in the tea journey, is does white tea need really, really low temperature? That's how I started. Is Teavana going in there, and on all the white tea labels, it's brew with 175 degrees Fahrenheit water, like 70 degrees Celsius, like very, very low. And that's what I did for a long time, until I realized that in China, they actually will boil the white tea, and it can take it. So that's what kind of, comes up if you actually push the boundaries a little bit. Just because someone tells you, it doesn't mean it's the case. Including me, okay? Like, including me. So we'll see. Yeah. While we set up, let us know what you guys are drinking all the way over there. Delphine, 175 is 80 degrees Celsius. Okay. Celsius seems so, they're such big numbers. So yeah, a lot of people started out, I think, with this 175 degrees Fahrenheit or 80 degrees Celsius for boiling, for brewing white tea, which I personally think is a little bit too low to extract the flavors, but it depends on people's, preference. So yeah.
Depends on people's tea.
Yeah, it depends on people's tea too. So even if I keep saying, oh, boil the tea, I'm telling you boil the tea to understand it first. But if you want to change the temperature, play around with it, boiling is not the only thing you can do. Absolutely. Gotta clarify that, because, yeah. Just burn it! I always end up doing that. So, what we will do is we will... we'll put the leaves in, 1 gram each of the sugar white, Taiwanese white tea. If you notice, this white tea doesn't have that many buds. It's mostly the old tea leaves. And this is a different kind of white tea than, say, a silver needle, because, what's going on is when you're dealing with different kinds of leaf material, there's different components, different compounds inside the leaves, which will react differently to your water temperature. The buds of the tea leaf, they're the tiniest part of the tea plant, right? They're the young shoots. The plant's energy is all going to those buds, so they're very, very hard. And because the plant's trying to protect those buds from getting bitten up by insects, right? So actually the buds of a buddy white tea, like silver needle, Yunnan silver needle, etc., they actually take boiling water really well. But as you go further down also, there's less kind of there's less concentrations of these compounds in the older leaves. So then even if you boil the heck out of it, it's not going to get too bitter. So it's kind of like this balancing act that we're dealing with. Yeah. So let me go ahead and let this rest. I'm going to add a little bit of cool water to our boiling water to get it down to 85 degrees Celsius because I'm impatient and I want to get on with it. And then what I'll do, once I pour the 85 degrees Celsius water, I'll just hit the kettle and we'll get boiling water really quick. Yeah. Thanks Delphine again for letting us know what actually is 80 degrees Celsius. Still learning. American girl. Did we learn Celsius in the Philippines? Because I was born and raised in the Philippines, but I think we learned Fahrenheit because I was in an American school. So yeah, I'm still learning my Celsius, but I would actually say we should learn Celsius because most of the tea drinking world speaks in Celsius. Even tea makers, so I'll follow their lead. Yeah, I'm gonna wait before my water just cool down a little bit here. So Salkiro's here, Sunblends, nice to see you. Noonsma, Fallen Ruby, Shumen Fantina, Benjamin, nice to see you. It's been a while, my friend. And Jin, I haven't seen you in a while either. Yeah, quite a long time. I just spoke with Jin and Marco this morning, which is why I'm making these haven't seen you in a long time jokes. If there's ever a lame joke you don't understand from me, just assume that it's a dad joke of some sort. I'm not that creative. Okay. Our kettle is at 86 degrees Celsius right now. I'm gonna wait for it to just cool down a tiny bit, and then we'll get started. A question for you guys. What temperature do you usually brew your water, brew your white tea in? Yeah. We usually brew at as hot as possible. Steven and I typically will just use extremely hot water for everything. Just because, number one, I'm lazy and would just rather make it work that way. You know? And we tend to buy teas that can take the heat. So I like to invest just a little bit more in better quality leaf that can take the boiling water, and I like the taste of it. I do believe that a higher quality white tea should not taste horrible, should even taste good at boiling. But I certainly am, open and accepting of the fact that just because you can boil it doesn't mean you should. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the right one here is going to be 85 degrees Celsius. I'm going to try to pour the same way, so there's no other factors that changes, how the leaves turn out, how the tea turns out, except for the temperature. There will be like a time delay here because I need to boil this water really quick, but it's only a couple seconds. Let my kettle boil. Yeah. Then I will use my spoon to just kind of dip the white tea into the water. And whatever you do with one, make sure you do with the other as well. If you jostle the leaves like this for one, and then you don't do that with the other one, it's not even. You know what I mean? So as much as possible, try to keep it consistent. Put your science goggles on. Suman Cha says 60 degrees Celsius. Suyon 96 says, I just eyeball it and hope my water isn't too hot. Yeah. Sunblends, hot water too. Bearing in mind the quality of the tea, the best part of drinking tea for me is you can always adjust, absolutely. Shima Fontina is at 70 degrees Celsius. See, everyone's talking to Celsius. Yeah, we're usually around 97 degrees Celsius. 93 to 97 is where we tend to brew our white tea. Yeah. And they will, these different temperatures will extract different compounds from the tea. For example, polyphenols, which tend to be, our grassy, kind of bittersweet components, will be more extracted with hotter temperature water, while I believe amino acids, which is the umami part, like L-theanine, will tend to just kind of extract anyway, which is why when you cold brew tea without any heat at all, it's just very silky, smooth, kind of, more umami. than the hotter temperature water. But just because we're not going to cold water doesn't mean it's not happening to here. Even that small, like 20 degrees Celsius drop, it's relatively small compared to like boiling versus iced, but that's still going to change what compounds are being extracted in the tea. So I'm going to take this off at 95 degrees Celsius. We can't hit 100 degrees Celsius here in Vegas, but it's more or less close to boiling. This is probably where we brew most of our teas. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say this is our control here, because me and Steven usually brew white tea like this, right? Yeah. Like, it's boiling. Here we go. Let's go. And then when we do this, what are we trying to find out? We're trying to find out if just because a white tea can take boiling water doesn't mean it tastes better with boiling water. That's a preference thing, but also an objective thing. Even if you have a preference, I really invite you to try the other way, because if you're brewing tea for yourself, no problem. But if you're trying to explore a different part of the tea, different sides of the tea, if you're trying to brew tea for other people, knowing where your tea will change can help you control what the experience is. So, just by the way, if I'm over at your house, thank you for inviting me to your house, but I really like my white tea boiled with hot water. So, just a secret, I'm going to be really like, wow, like we get to taste all of the tea. I love it, because I really like the experience of being able to taste everything the tea has to offer me. So you'll make me very happy. But if your friend is like, oh, I like the delicate flavor of white tea, I want it to feel, airy and ethereal. Is that how you say that word? Ethereal? Ethereal? Like a cloud. You want to make it very, very elegant. Then you'll make them happy by brewing with a slightly lower temperature, right? So just because the way that me and Steven drink tea, we have very similar preferences, but depending on who's on the table with us, we will adjust to see how we can make them happier with the tea session. Yeah, and I'm guilty of not doing this test enough. I've become comfortable with my boiling water, but we should be aware of the whole spectrum of what our teas can do, I think. I think we had like a minute and a half delay between the two, but when you're bowl brewing like this, they're just going to sit in the water. So less than if we're using a gaiwan or a pot, we're going to be able to see the tea develop pretty much about evenly, because we'll be tasting as time goes on. So we don't have to wait until this is done. We're going to just taste it from the very beginning. That's the great thing about bowl brew tea. Even if it's not done, quote unquote, you can kind of taste to see how the tea is developing. Yeah. Okay. This is the cooler one. 85 degrees Celsius, 185 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the near boiling. Wow, there's really a big difference. Even if this is steeped a little bit later, it's got more flavor. We'll see how it develops. I'll give it some time. 23 Axel Lawless here, Journey with a Cup. Nyanke is Becker. Ty loves tea. Nick Mescudi. And then my friend Eric, who, by the way, thank you for supporting our Korean group buy over the last couple of days. There's a couple of you who picked up those samplers. And this guy, Tea Sleuth, is going to send them out to you and to me. So we're really excited. Eric, before I read your message, I will say I have learned so much from Eric. All the most, dusty tea corners of the tea world. Hunan Heicha, Korean green tea. Really, really good dansong. Eric, thank you for helping me navigate that. He's been studying tea since 2007, 2008. He was selling tea before any of us were alive. I'm just kidding. He's not that old. But Eric, thank you. And then I'm going to say what he just wrote. Happier, remember when you made me sad with a happy tea? So Eric is actually talking about something that actually happened to us, where he gave me a dansong that he really liked, and I was really excited. And I tend to think that I know how to brew dansong, and yes, whenever I'm brewing with someone else, I will try to make it according to what they might like, but I didn't. I actually brewed the tea in a way that made Eric not feel good on the tea. So even with your best efforts, sometimes it doesn't work, but just try, even if you make a mistake, So like now next time I'm going to think about how I can brew that tea in a different way to taste better for Eric. Because it actually made me happy and it made Eric like not happy. So that was a very selfish session on my part. I didn't intend it for me to be, you know, selfish, Eric, but I just read the tea wrong, right? Yeah. Eric says it doesn't mean you steeped it wrong. Yeah, the tea tasted fine, but there's so many tiny adjustments you can make that while I steep the tea tasty, if I'm with someone else, I want to steep it for that person. Otherwise, I can just go home and, you know, watch Hell's Kitchen and bowl brew it, whatever. Yeah, tea serving. Hide Stock, welcome to today's tea practice as well. For those of you joining in, we got our boiled white tea here, and then our white tea at 85 degrees Celsius. It's just basically comparing temperatures. Seems like a very basic experiment, but, you know, always gotta go back to fundamentals and redo experiments now and again so that we can update, refresh, you know? Like a new spring line of sunglasses. Gotta refresh it every year. Keep in trend. I guess the trend now is aged white tea, right? So... raisiny white teas. I do like aged white tea, but right now a lot of the really famous popular white teas that are aged taste like raisins. Yeah, that's something I gotta update my tea wardrobe on. Cha Chai Tea says, I'm so excited about the Korean group buy, the one we talked about last couple of days. Thanks, Eric. Looking forward to it. I'm excited too. In just 2 months, we'll be able to talk together about this. I'm really excited. I think a lot of us on this chat actually picked up a sampler, and that'll be one of the first times we'll be able to come together and drink many of the same teas together. So look out for that. Yeah, I know August is a couple months out, but I know, you know who I'm talking about. You guys have picked up the sampler. We'll do an Instagram live together and taste them. Do a side by side. It's a juicy sampler too. 6 grades from the same producer, same year. So excited. It's gonna be 15 grams each, so that'll be enough for us to taste on our own, and then the class with Arthur that Arthur Park is offering so kindly to do for us, and then a side by side. How's that? Yeah, seems fair. Yeah. And this white tea is a sugar white from Leafy Green Tea. I should have said that earlier. They are a vendor in Rhode Island, and the tea was sent to us by Joe from Fish Anywhere, who is the biggest leafy green fan in the world, and I dig that. Local tea businesses are good. Local tea shops are great. So many hidden gems. A lot of us tend to buy tea online. It is very awesome to find like rare tea and hard to get tea online, but sometimes, you know, local tea shops, they got some gems, so don't count them out, you know? And listen to what your friends are drinking. Even if you're not familiar with the brand, dig into what the catalog is, because Taiwanese white tea is very difficult to get. I was in Taiwan 6 months total last year. How many white teas did I drink when I was there? Taiwanese white teas. Like 1? Yeah. So 6 months I spent in Taiwan last year, or 2. On tea projects, studying tea, traveling almost everywhere, and I only had 2 Taiwanese white teas. Yeah, so very, very unusual tea, and I'm really happy to get it from Leafy Green. So thanks, Michelle, if you're watching this one. Yeah, these are really, really lovely leaves. And we'll see how they taste in these 2 different temperatures. You guys ready? I think this is the time now it's going to have developed enough that there's going to be a huge difference. So we'll start with this one, the hotter temperature. This is what me and Steven usually try to brew our teas at. So this is our control. Ooh, tasty. Very, very good. To this, if you guys were here yesterday, you would have seen me try to struggle to describe this white tea. It's got like an almost like fresh, slightly blanched vegetables taste. Very, very sweet. Cane sugar. Yeah, just spring in a cup plus some like sugar cane going on. Very, very tasty. So even if the leaves are quite dark, they actually taste more fresh and vibrant than you might expect. Closest thing I can compare it to is maybe a very fresh shomei from Fujian. And the leaf pick is very similar to what a shomei would be, so that makes sense, right? And this is made with a cultivar usually used for oolong called ronzi. Not important right now, but it's the classic cultivar for oolong in Taiwan. Very, 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 very typical. So that's what the taste is like. Very nice aftertaste, aroma going on, just kick-ass tea. Really good tea, hits all the marks. Let's see how it tastes like with the 85-degree water. Oh my god, it's so delicate. It feels like tiptoeing on clouds. Wow. Okay. Wow, that's so different. That's really different. Oh my god. So, by the way, we boiled this white tea, but it has no bitterness whatsoever. So if you have not ever tried to boil your white tea, if you have a good one, like a good quality one, please try it and see what happens. If it goes wrong, don't worry about it. At least you know where you can push your tea. But you'd be surprised by how many really good white teas can take the heat, especially if the leaves are not so broken. Yeah, try boiling water. And then for those of us who've jumped on the boiling water train because we keep talking about it, the opposite is true. Try to go back to the 185 degree Fahrenheit, 85 degrees Celsius brewing style. Honestly, the reason why I haven't gone back to this is because I was so betrayed by Tivana for so many years when they were like, brew your silver needle at 175 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Celsius. That's what I learned. And when I found out that it wasn't the case, I was like, those motherfuckers made me waste so much tea, because in theory, if you're not boiling the tea, you're not getting the full spectrum. That's why I think a lot of people start out with like, oh, white tea is not my favorite. It's just too light for me. But I doubt that most of those people got the chance to try it with boiling water. Yeah. So, yeah. Try to just go out of your comfort zone. That's what I'm doing right here. A little voice in my mind is like, you could have boiled that. It could have taken it. I'm like, yes, Ree. It could have taken it. But is it necessarily better? I can think of many ways where this is better than the boiled tea if you're trying to present a certain message about white tea. It's very delicate. Very, very, very elegant. Like someone in a ball gown walking around clouds with a swan and white flowers, just to make it as delicate as possible. Yeah. Hidden gems. We're talking about our hidden gems in our respective communities. No local gems in St. Louis, no local gems in the Netherlands. Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. If you don't have one, time to make it happen. I'm in Vegas. People, oh man, Vegas. People are like, you're in Vegas? Don't people drink alcohol there? I'm like, yeah, people drink alcohol here. But if we can do it in Vegas, you guys can too. Okay. Hitting Stock says there's just a lack of tea culture. I totally understand that. But the people who are waiting for you to pour tea for them are out there. Just gotta pour tea. Yeah. Chiara from It's Tea Babe is here as well. Shima Fantina, in Chile, we only have silver needle and baimudan. I try an aged white tea and tea class. It's so rare to find in South America. Interesting. Sunblend says yang tea Chile is in Chile. Nice. Getting some connects. Yeah, it's really difficult to get good tea in South America, from what I'm hearing. Used to export tea to South America, or attempt to. Very difficult. What sucks is that we can get South American tea easily. Like I've tried Brazilian tea, I've tried Colombian tea, but getting it there, more difficult. Yeah. For those of you who haven't answered the question yet, you know, what temperature do you brew your white teas at typically? I'm curious to see. Let's go back to the cooler temperature white tea. very delicate. Very, very, very soft. This is just a difference of about 20 degrees Celsius, 15 to 20 degrees Celsius. But the profiles are so different. And then also the color of the leaves, the color of the liquor is very different too. See how this one is a little bit more green in color, lighter color right here. And then this one here is that darker kind of like yellowish color. So we know that this guy is getting more extracted because we even brewed this guy later. Maybe like, a minute and a half, 2 minutes later, but it's already darker than this one. It'll also depend on the kind of white tea that you have, of course, but yeah, I find that even if leaf material matters, the best of the best teas can take boiling water without a blink. I think when I really dug down into this hole was, how Dansong, Phoenix Oolong, people say, oh, you gotta flash tape Phoenix Oolong. If you miss 2 seconds, 3 seconds on the Phoenix Oolong, it's gonna get bitter. And it's true, right? Phoenix Oolongs are like a motherfucker to brew. Like, they're very, very sensitive. The difference between an amazing cup of Phoenix and oh my god, it's kind of bitter, like dry, is very, very close. And then I had a really, really, really good Phoenix through Eric. See the connections here? Eric knows a lot of like the really cranky, awesome tea people who, they're too busy enjoying their tea to talk to us. I tried a tea from Tea Habitat, probably the best dancehall I've ever had until that point, and I was like, and she just boiled it and she let it sit in the gaiwan for like a minute, and then she poured it out. And in theory, you're like, oh my god, that's gonna be really bitter. No problem. So I was like, man, every single tea that's good can handle boiling water. Just objectively correct processing. It's not realistic to expect perfect processing from every single tea. I'm not saying that, but if someone says, hey, this is a competition-winning tea, it's $20 a gram, like Tea Master so-and-so made it, perfectly processed. Yeah. Go look them in the eye and be like, let me boil it. And there's no tea that we love that we'll say is really amazing that we'll be like, no, don't boil it though. There's not a single tea. Jade Mountain, Wild Mountain White, this tea's really good. Mother Bush Dansong, Shangpuer, we have Shangpuer that we boil. Sho, what else? Darjeeling, the best ones can take it. Junchiabari's friggin' Nepalese tea.
Even our favorite Japanese greens, we're just like
Japanese sencha, like you'd think, oh my god, the Japanese sencha. Rabin, you know this, right? With the Yonoko teas, and Jeremy too. You guys who like boil that sencha, it came out perfect.
Absolutely perfect.
So there's almost like this conspiracy. I'm gonna say conspiracy, but we just didn't know enough, right? That boiling water is like our tool to suss out when someone's saying that a tea is better than we think it is. You know what I mean? Yeah. But also on the flip side, we can't just be Nazis and be like, boiling water all the time. Context is very important. And I know you guys are mindful enough to balance both these things. It's true, boiling water is great, but also true, don't use it all the time. Think about the context, right? I think you guys can handle that. That dichotomy. Yeah. Eric says, I learned a lot from our good teas. Best longing I've had to date. I agree. I remember the face that people made the first time I boiled a Dragon Well here in Vegas at a tea class. They were like, you can't! And I'm like, hold my beer. Or hold my Dragon Well. Let's boil this Dragon Well. Totally sweet. So, yeah. So, got a couple more responses on what we use for white tea. 95 degrees Celsius from Hire stock. Shiara says 85 to 90 degrees Celsius. Rabain says 80 degrees like a good student. I know, I was such a good student. Now I'm like, if you meet Buddha on the road, kill him. Test everything anyone tells you. Even me, okay? Like, I'm talking to you right now, but I'm sure I've said something that's wrong already. So just test it. 23 asks Lol says, Colombian tea was not my top. Me too, for a little bit. But recently, they've been improving a lot. It's crazy to see how quickly they can improve. But I remember trying Colombian tea maybe like 5 years ago. I was like, oh, it's a long way to go. And then I tried it again last year. I'm like, wow. And you know what they did? They asked for feedback and asked people who know better than them. And now that's the secret. Eric says, do you boil your Japanese greens? Yes, I actually will boil my Japanese greens. There are some teas, you know what? No. There's not a single Japanese green that I really, really love that won't take boiling water. And I mean it. The Saimidori from Tea and Whisk, the Yonoko teas, you know, even the Gyokuro from Teto Japan, no problem. Even Gyokuro, okay? Like, I'm not saying always boil Gyokuro, but the really good Gyokuro, you can boil it. Absolutely. And if you find a tea that someone says the best tea ever, but don't boil it, you tell me, okay? Because I'm going to be interested in seeing what's happening. Kim from Sunblend says, why are people generally not taught this technique, boiling water? And I can answer this because it's my experience. I only learned this when I went to China and they just boiled the fuck out of their water. I only learned from Chinese and Taiwanese tea specialists. I think why it happens to be in the West, we're taught to boil or not to boil our tea. Let's say a Tivana. Tivana is not getting the best of the best white tea in the world. They can't afford it, right? They can't justify having like a $2 a gram white tea at the store. People are going to lose their minds, right? So what they have to do, it's not the perfect white tea. You have to brew it lower temperature. So they're like, oh, we should tell them to brew it just at lower temperatures. They don't. Yeah. So they don't ruin it. And if they ruin it, that's their fault for using boiling water. It's not that the tea is bad. It's the consumer's fault. So, which I don't like that because it's never the consumer's fault in terms of just tea quality. It's on us to tell other people to know these things, right? Because how would I know? How would I know to boil silver needle, right? Didn't you guys start this out? Like the first time you got like a really good tea, you looked at that package and you're like, 2 minutes.
This many grams.
5 grams. Yeah. 80 degrees Celsius, okay? And then if it says 2 to 3 minutes, you're like, is it 2 or 3 minutes, right? Haven't you thought that? Like, is it 2 or 3 minutes? Oh my God. And then when you mess up, we blame ourselves, not the tea, right? Like, oh, it's because I'm not a good brewer, or I'm not a good taster, I don't have a good palate, I'm so new, I'm a newbie, I don't know anything, etc. But, you know, the teas I send to my friends who are not tea brewers, I give them the best teas because when they brew it, I don't care what they do. They can let it sit in a mug for 5 hours if they want to. It's not going to kill them. Jade Mountain. Right, you guys have, a lot of you have tried Jade Mountain from, if you've ever gotten tea from us, it's my teacher's Jade Mountain. You can just leave it there for a day like this, no problem. Yeah. So, yeah, that's get people to boil the tea just a little bit more. If they have good tea. If you have a friend who's at Tivana, don't tell them to do that. Get them into the good tea first and then boil it. Yeah. Yeah. So Sunlen says, oh damn, to hide the low quality. What else would it be for? I can't think of it. It is true it is a different flavor, but they're not giving us a choice. That's the difference. It's not for our experience. Because I personally think that 175 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Celsius is a little bit too light for silver needle. Who thinks silver needle is too light? It's pretty light. It's because we're only brewing at 80 degrees Celsius. But if you think about silver needle, it's this bud, right? The bud of silver needle is the top part of the tea plant. That's the plant's like, this is our project right now. Like, this is the bud. We don't want bugs to bite this, right? We don't want the bugs to eat our buds. So they put all the protection in the tea bud, which is why if you open a silver needle, you gotta like, have you guys done this? I'm sure you guys have. Open up a silver needle bud, you're like, you know, and if you press it, it's very, very, you know, It's very, very hard. Silver needle buds are very hard. So why? It's got hair on it. The hair is meant to like protect the leaves, you know. A tea bud is designed to not be fragile. So why are we not boiling it? Why are we babying the tea leaf? Why are we babying the tea buds, I mean, if they're designed to withstand pressure? You know what I mean? It should be able to take the heat. And I will say, if you have a silver needle that's marketed as something you should brew at like 175 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Celsius, I bet you those buds are broken. Because when the buds do break, they panic so much, like, oh my god, we're broken! And then all the shit comes out. And that's where all the bitterness comes from, is when the buds are broken before it becomes a tea. So let's say, you know, John Smith, who for some reason is a picker in Fujian, but his name is John Smith. I just didn't want to use like a Chinese name. John Smith's picking buds, but he's very lazy that day. He uses fingernails instead of his hands to like pluck the leaves. He's just like, whatever. And he's breaking the buds. When those buds do break because the picker is not being responsible or whoever's processing is like just pushing them too much, that's where we get the bitter, like, like white tea that's too sour. Something happened in the processing. So that's why. That's the reason why I believe in the boiling water. Yeah. But also don't forget the lower temperature, just as a technique, you know. Does that make sense? I just want to explain why, because I don't ever want to tell you guys what to do without explaining the why behind it. Yeah, so if you have any questions, let me know. Let me taste these guys again. But let me say hi to AXGQZ, all the difficult letters to say. Chave referred me to you. Shout out. Thank you, Chave. Lisa and August, the other really gross tea couple who love each other so much. Ugh, I hate that. Don't you, Steven?
Disgusting.
Isn't that gross? Tea love is so gross. I hate tea love. Thanks, Lisa. Thanks, August. Nice to meet you. Lisa and I met in Taiwan, actually. And at the time, I remember we were having some love problems. Ugh, gross. Much better now. So yeah.
Different person. If it's not clear.
Oh, no. Yeah, it wasn't Steven. Steven's perfect.
That's right.
Usually. Sunblend says white tea in general is sold as a delicate tea when it can really take the heat. Yes, absolutely. And even when it can take the heat, it's still relatively delicate. You know, I think it can actually still be that delicate and powdery and just so like elegant. But get the, see where your tea can go first, and then you can actually kind of paint your picture. It's almost like learning the skills. So the boiling water test is a skill. The using lower temperature, even if you know boiling will work, that's a decision. That's your artistic kind of like manifestation of what you want to do with the tea. Okay, does that make sense? This is a method, boiling, to suss out the bullshit, okay? And then once you learn the boiling, go back to dropping down the temperature to design what you want from the tea leaves. I absolutely will use this for like Lion, who's the friend who inspired this. He loves super delicate, super just finesse white tea. He would love this. He would not like this as much. Yeah. Then you become that superpower tea master who can, brew tea according to which friend it is. Yeah. And yes, Steven is wonderful. Again, he's the child who was reincarnated from a tea master in the last life. Because he makes better tea than I do. And that sucks. Yeah. Jewel, welcome to today's tea practice. Shiloh, it's so nice to see you. And Sonia, nice to see you too. Eric says, please, both are decisions. I will disagree with that. I will disagree that both are decisions. It's a decision which kind of water you use, but everyone needs to use the boiling water method to test. I will say that. Like, if people start out only with like low temperature water, they're not going to get the facts, like the objective, the objective evaluation of the tea. And of course, you can still decide to use boiling once you do know what it does, but Like, we decide to use boiling. That's just our choice. Does it work for everyone? No. I would say the boiling water brings out more peppery, kind of herbaceous notes. The lower temperature brings out, or maintains more of that delicacy, that softness. It's just, it's almost foolproof to boil it so low. It'll always be super delicate. Yeah. Okay, let's just try these out. Again, I've been talking a lot. But I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about anything we talked about, let me know. By the way, you're like, how long has it been since we started this live?
45.
45? We've been brewing this tea for about 25 now, I would say. No bitterness. No bitterness. Here, Stephen. There's a tiny bit of dryness, but dryness here, just a tiny bit, but barely anything. Not what you'd expect if you told Ree from 2013, 2012, that was like my Tivana silver needle phase. I bought so much silver needle from Tivana. Jasmine silver needle normal, and then silver needle with whatever Maharaja chai they wanted me to buy to blend it together. Oh, God. I loved silver needle, which is why this was a very, very big lesson for me, that the tea I loved so much and studied so much for a long time. Someone knocked on the door and was like, by the way, did you ever boil it? I'm like, no. Why not? Because Tivana told me to. Yeah. Even 175 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Celsius is very low. It's actually quite low. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Friends who jumped in. Naomi, it's so nice to see you. And Fakih Kademoglu, welcome to Tea Practice today. We are in the middle of testing out, let's go back to the tasting of the tea in front of us. A Taiwanese white tea, no buds, mostly just, leaves. From the Dongting area. Very unusual to have a Taiwanese white tea. Very, very tasty tea. I know it's a good tea because it tastes great with boiling water. Very well processed. But I want to know if it's better or worse tasting with lower temperature, What are the differences? What are we tasting different? Yeah. And Shiloh, I'm glad that you're busy over there, but hope you get some more time for tea. You're very busy this week. We saw you earlier this week at the Tea Fest PDX. That was nice.
Good job, by the way.
What's that?
Shiloh.
What? Stephen, what'd you say, Stephen?
Saying good job to Shiloh.
Stephen's like, good job, Shiloh. Good job. Yeah, well done. Shiloh, who just popped in. Oh my god, I wish I could just introduce all of you to each other. There's so much tea knowledge in this one chat. It's insane. I wish there was a way to put it all together in one place. There's just no way to put it together. There's no place where we can all talk together and share tea knowledge. If only.
Wouldn't it be great?
Wouldn't it be great? The Discord! You should be on the Discord, you guys. The Tea Curious Discord is what I made for that to happen. Because sometimes I'm just like, oh my god, look at all the knowledge in here. Jesus. From all over, too. So many of us have so many different perspectives, and I don't always hear it, but, someone's like, oh, I've been to Thailand. I'm like, Rabbi, you went to Thailand? Rabbi, you didn't even tell us that you went to Thailand. Why didn't you tell us all about it? Shiloh did a presentation about Thai culture and pottery earlier this week. This guy's been to Yunnan and studied with Thai potters, like the OG pottery style of Yunnan, like the clay where Shishuang Bana Puer grows. They make into pots. And not just pots, but also other things too. So it's just crazy, So much tea information in this one chat. So I really appreciate you guys being here and listening to me, because I could really just spend an hour listening to each of you. I really believe that. Yeah. That's why I want to ask, what's your experience with white teas? How's this? For you guys who always boil white tea, has there ever been a white tea you boiled that someone said was a really, really good one, but it didn't turn out to be the case? Let me think about it. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it. Can't think of it. Tasty. This is the boiling water one. Zero bitterness. Maybe like 20% dryness, but zero bitterness, even after sitting in this water for so long. And yes, I know that the bowl is open, so like the heat dissipates, but still, it was boiling water, okay? It was boiling water. A Tivana tea will not do this. Just BT dubs. Or maybe there is a Tivana tea that can do it now, but I haven't... Well, they don't exist anymore, so... Sorry, Tivana. I actually like Tivana. I owe them a lot for my, for getting the tea, you know? But, I like to rag on them a little bit. I think it's okay. It's okay to rag on them a little bit. Jeremy says, aged white teas are my sweet spot. I need to dive more into the fresh whites. Yeah, me too. I've been doing more aged white tea the last couple of years. Eric says it'd be tiring to have you listen to an hour to him. No, we did that not too long ago for the Korean group buy. Which again, for those of you who just popped in August, you guys should be getting your Korean tea group buys. And we should do an Instagram live together. We always have like kind of this separate situation where I'm talking and drinking a different tea from you guys, but I didn't even think of it. But the fact that so many of you got on the Korean group buy means we can do an Instagram live together with the same tea, which is really friggin' dope. I'm really excited about that. So just keep in mind, I know August is a ways out, but maybe we can think about setting a day to do it together. Because it's such a good side-by-side, the different levels of harvest, different leaf grades from the one producer. And there's 15 grams, I think, for each tea. So there's more than enough to do the class with Arthur, to do one together, and for you to do one by yourself. Just an option. But it's always fun to learn from each other. Like Shiloh says, we all help inform each other, for sure, for sure. The most informed people I know in tea ask me for my input. Like, tea masters will ask me for my input, and I'm like, you want my input? You want my input? Like, lady, you were like 40 years old when I was born, and you've been making tea for 20 years before that. But they never stop learning. So that's I think the number one thing we need to copy from a tea master. We might not be able to make tea. We might not be able to process or grow. Maybe we will someday. Maybe some of you are tea farmers, you know? But copy that, like, always learning attitude, for sure. And, yeah. Like Eric says, how boring life would be if there was nothing left to learn. For sure. Shannara, nice to see you. Welcome to today's tea practice. Same thing with Alex and Christine. We are at the tail end of this test. Boiling white tea versus 85 degrees Celsius, 185 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm getting better at this Celsius thing, right? Am I? Celsius friends, you know, give me a grade. I think it's like a C+. It's okay. Wow, okay, so I really appreciate how this tea is tasting with the lighter brew. The lower temperature water. I will say that even if this is not my personal preferred way to brew white tea, the 85 degrees Fahrenheit, 185 degrees Fahrenheit, 85 degrees Celsius. It's a little cooler than I like it to be, but it's very soft, very, very delicate, very smooth, very easygoing, extremely easygoing. Very, very easy drinking. I would say it even like represents white tea more that people would expect like this, because it is so soft, it is so sweet. It does maintain some of the sweetness. I will say though, for some reason it is a little bit more dry on the finish. I don't know if it's because I'm stacking them now. When you're doing a side-by-side, be aware that just because you're getting that effect from this tea doesn't mean it's not just the after effects of this tea stacking up. You know, there's just tannin, polyphenol, amino acids building up on the palate. So we should probably have some water. Yeah, let's drink some water really quick before we do one last little test. Oh, and then while I have all you guys here, I wanted to ask you, should we do lives on Saturdays, like today, or Fridays, like yesterday? I'm asking because Steven and I kind of want our Saturdays back. But if you guys think that Saturday is a better time for this, especially since I was thinking about, hey, Friday night, Europe people mind staying up until 12 o'clock at night because it's Friday, you know? But Saturday, I know a lot of you might be more free. On the weekends, Steven and I work whenever during the week. We live in Vegas where our schedules are very, very all over the place, so we don't really have a concept of a weekend here in Vegas. So please let us know if you prefer Friday or Saturday for these. We're thinking of doing Wednesday, Friday for lives, or Wednesday, Saturday. I'm not totally sure yet. At least until the quarantine situation kind of blows out, then we might go back to once a week. But yeah, trying to figure that out. But wouldn't that be fun to do that group tasting together for the Korean group buy? Ah, wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Any questions about these concepts? Boiled tea here, more flavor, I think more aftertaste. It's more interesting to me. That's why I like it so much. It's just so interesting. It just, the boiling water extracted more from the tea, and I like that. I'm kind of a fear of missing out kind of person. If I don't get the maximum from a tea, I feel bad. I'm like, oh, there's still something locked inside the leaves. If we only boiled it, we could have tasted it more. But I will sacrifice a bit of bitterness to get more of that flavor. So it might be different for everyone. If you don't mind just a tiny bit of dryness, a little bit of a punch, boiling water with white tea, my preferred. But if you want to play it, you know, very, very smooth, very, very delicate, preserve that kind of like airy, super light thing going on with white tea. Yeah, it's so soft. Like hugging a swan, if swans were nice. I've never hugged a swan, but aren't swans like assholes? Or geese? Yeah, like hugging a nice swan on a cloud. With a wedding dress on, just white things, white fluffy, soft things, very, very, very soft. It definitely accomplishes a goal. When you brew tea, you guys are super advanced. You know, even if you might not feel like it, you are your community's personal leaders, right? When you brew tea, set a goal. Like, what do you want to show to the person you're having tea with? What kind of like feeling? What kind of experience? If you want to show people just how delicate and soft a white tea can be, this is it. Yeah, this is it. But if you want to show people like what white tea can do, like the full spectrum, then you boil it. So different options. And Hidestalk, your question brings up a really interesting method too. He asked, do you tend to increase temperature over time when doing multiple infusions? You can definitely do that too. Start it out soft and then build up. I actually don't do that enough, but that's another technique you can use.
It's a bit hard to increase from one.
No, start with the soft, right? Start with a lower temperature. So start with 85 degrees Celsius, and then have people taste that and be like, let's see what else this can do, and then boil it, and then you can have two different experiences from the same session. So that's really useful too, and something I haven't practiced enough. So I'd like to try that more. And yes, hugging a very fluffy Samoyed. Bella's quite fluffy. She's not anymore. She got a haircut, so she looks like a poodle now instead of a polar bear. But hugging a very, very soft dog is this white tea with lower temperature water. Yeah. Got it? This good? Yeah. Questions, concerns, problems with me, problems with the tea, problems with yourself. I'll listen to them. That's fine. But you should probably talk to a counselor. I can help you with the tea problems, though. Take away from this, tea's context, tea is the goal that you're trying to achieve when you're brewing. There's not just one way to go about it, but I want yourself to arm yourselves with the methods. Use the methods, okay? They're there for you. We can take down shitty tea if we all know how to like suss it out, and then we can like design beautiful tea sessions, goal-oriented tea sessions if we know how to play with the temperatures too. Two different, not one better than the other. I'm gonna say that. So yeah, thanks for your input. Thanks for your time. Thanks for hanging out. Saturday's so wonderful being spent with you guys. I hope you guys have a really nice week. we'll see you on Wednesday, next live. And on the Discord, okay? Bye! There's still so many seconds left. I wasn't looking.